city of the Netherlands. We are looking at a map, god damn it!
How's it going, guys? Welcome to the channel. We're going to be doing a compilation of the what's the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you TikTok reacts compilations that I did. There were 6 parts of it, and they're each about 10 minutes long. My reactions are probably a little bit longer. But anyways, this is a compilation, all the parts together with the original intros and outros that I did on the videos cut out, so you can just watch them all the way through. Enjoy.
What's the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Europe.
So I was a
Europe's not a country, guys. I've accidentally made that mistake. I know Europe's not a country. I know this. I've accidentally said it, not actually meaning Europe's a country, but I've got it in the comment section. People let me know about it. But yeah, Europe is a continent full of multiple different countries.
tour guide for the Parliament of Canada as a student. Paid well, love the job. Some of the best friends I have right now are from that job. So we were walking up to the House of Commons foyer, where you enter the House of Commons, and there's 3 sets of doors.
Okay.
The French doors, the English doors, and then the Canadian doors. So the French colonizers, the English colonizers, and then the Canadian doors. So the tourist asked me, he says, but wait, where are the American doors? Me baffled, I'm like, sorry, what? Pardon me? He said, where are the American doors? I asked him, sir, why would there be American doors? And then we just proceeded to look at each other for a good 10, 15 seconds until I just walked away and continued the tour.
Bet.
That's funny. Yeah, there's not American doors because Americans didn't colonize Canada.
I got you. Hey man, where are you from again? Oh, I'm from Bosnia. Bosnia. So
Bosnia,
what, you speak
huh?
Bosnia? No, I speak Bosnian. Whatever, dude, same thing. Same thing. What, you speak America? Dude, relax, it was just a mistake. Alright, whatever. So what type of religions do you got over there? Oh, we have Islam and Christianity. Oh, so you're Islam? I'm Muslim or Islamic, yeah. Oh, what's that? Get this. Muslims are the people of Islam. Oh, my bad, man, I didn't know. But it must suck not to eat pork, right? I really don't care. Oh, have you read the Bible? Nah, I already told you I'm Islamic. Uneducated. What? What?
Oh man, that's funny. And the thing with the pork, though, if you never ate it, you're not gonna know how gloriously delicious it is. But yeah, though, for real though, you're not gonna, if you don't, you're not gonna know what it is if you never had it. You're not gonna miss it. You're not gonna know it's not,
So I'm Canadian, and I was working down in California about a decade ago, and we all went out to this bar one night, and I met this guy, and we were talking, and I told him I was Canadian, and he dead-ass looks at me and says, no, you're not. We look the same.
What?
I'm Canadian. I'm still fucking white.
Wow, maybe he was thinking of the Eskimos.
I think he thought it was a South Park kind of situation.
Yeah.
No, friend. Yeah. Sorry, buddy. Not your guy. Pal.
Oh, that's awesome. South Park's great. I haven't watched it in years, though.
So I'm Swiss and Luxembourgish, but I went to the States for university, more specifically Los Angeles. So I have so many of these because people are fucking stupid out there. At least every 2 weeks I'd get asked if I spoke Swedish because I was from Switzerland. Classic. But then every now and then I'd just be like, fuck it, I might try and say I'm from Luxembourg. Every time I said I'm from Luxembourg, it would be, so where in the UK is that? Where?
In the UK? Really? Wow.
Oh, no, it's not in the UK. But, okay, where in Germany? Sorry, my bad. Not in Germany.
It's its own country. It's actually one of the smallest countries.
Somewhere else. I don't know where Luxembourg is. Which country is it? It is its own fucking country. I know we're small, but we're important too, you fucking bitch.
Super small and insanely wealthy, actually.
So I know I'm American, but I'm going to get in on this one. I was staying at a hotel on the Strip in Vegas, and I was in the little convenience store just trying to buy a Diet Coke, and the couple in front of me that were from Australia were trying to just buy a pack of cigarettes. And after about 5 attempts, I knew the lady behind the register was never going to understand them. So I offered to them, do you want me to translate for you? And they were like, we're speaking English. And I was like, yeah, I know that. You know that. She doesn't know that. So they were like, yeah, fine.
Yeah, Australian English, like some the thick accents that they have down there sometimes, like I feel like sometimes you almost do need a translator. Like for sure.
And so I translated for them. And then after they got their cigarettes, they kind of laughed and were like, thanks. And so when I was ordering my Diet Coke, she was like, that would have been so much easier if they spoke English. And I was like, yeah, they're from Australia. They were speaking English. And she goes, they don't speak English there. And I was like, don't ask. What do you think they speak there? And she goes, Australia in ish ease. The fuck?
Australian-ish ease. Oh wow, that's funny.
Okay, so I'm Canadian, and I used to be working in finance as an advisor, and I had this older couple in my office, and I was doing their finances. I was an advisor doing their finances. And we were talking about making conversation, things coming up in the summer. I enjoy all the festivals that happen in my city. I particularly enjoy this one food festival where people of all different cultures and countries set up a tent from their country, and you can try the food of that culture and country. And I just love going and trying all the different foods. And so I said I was looking forward to this festival. And the guy looked at me and said, sell falafel? And I said, what? Excuse me? And he said, do you sell falafel? And I looked at him, and he said, do you have a falafel stand?
Okay, where's this going here?
No.
I don't know what a falafel is. So I guess that's a thing that's like not a thing, but people think it's a thing or something. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know down there if you know about that. Hit like while you're down there. That'd be cool.
So the first and last time that I ever went to a frat party, I was wearing a beret, this beret, and I walk in, chatting to people, this and that, and this really, really drunk white girl comes up to me, and she's like, oh my god, I love your hat so much. Is it a sombrero?
Is it a sombrero? Wow.
I was shocked, bamboozled, severely discombobulated, but I composed myself and I say to her, no, it's not a sombrero, it's a beret actually.
Discombobulated and all that, like wow. It's a beret. Berry, I guess she's pronouncing it.
And then she goes, oh my god, your accent, is that a British accent? Are you British? Oh my god, I didn't know that there are Mexicans in Britain.
What?
Firstly, I'm not Mexican. Secondly, why do so many Americans have this idea that like there aren't any people of color in the UK, so there aren't like hundreds of British POC who are absolutely killing it on the world stage right now? But whatever, it's Americans, isn't it?
Yeah, I think almost every country has people of almost every color in it. Mostly, I think. I don't know.
All right, so I was in Pennsylvania, right, on a vacation.
Pennsylvania.
And we were visiting this Amish house with a guided tour and stuff. And at the end there was a little question round where we could all ask questions to the guide. And someone asked the question, do the Amish go to hospitals? And the guide answers, yes, they do go to hospitals. And then the next question is, how do they afford it? Well, yeah, the
Money.
leader or whatever, I don't remember exactly, goes around 2 times a year to collect money from everyone. They pool that together, and when someone needs to go to the hospital, they take the money from that pool. And everyone taking the tour was standing there like, oh my god, that's so great, yeah, it's perfect. So I say, well,
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about the Amish community. Actually, is it's all about community. They help each other out a lot.
well, that's basically how it works in Europe. You pay your taxes, everyone pays their taxes, and if you need to go to the hospital, they take from that money and use it to pay the hospital. Which the guide looks extremely disgusted, and she replies with, that's socialism.
So it's okay when the Amish do it, but it's not okay when Europeans do it? Because it's socialism. And socialism's bad, I guess. A lot of people think it is for some reason. I don't know.
There's just too many stories, but
Too
literally
many stories.
anytime it has to do with the pronunciation of an Indian word, I'm the one who's being corrected. Like
She's the Indian. How you gonna correct her?
ashwagandha and Himalayas, it's Himalayas, and it's ashwagandha. I feel like every time I tell people this, they're like, I'm like, and I just give up. I just give up now. But yeah, literally anytime I have
Okay.
tried to pronounce the actual word, Americans have fought me on it and been like, that's not the way you pronounce it, it's Himalayas. Or yeah, whatever.
Interesting. I didn't know the way that Himalaya was actually supposed to be pronounced. It's the same thing as like in Dutch. Like here, you know, they say Gouda cheese, but in Dutch, where it came from, the way it's supposed to be pronounced is more like Gouda cheese, which it wouldn't be cheese, it'd be Kost, because that's what cheese is in Dutch. But anyways, so Himalaya is just another one of those where everybody just pronounces it wrong, so much to the point where if you say the right way, they think the right way's wrong. It's very cool. Very interesting.
There was a Haitian kid in my class, and they said, "Hey, Biko, you're from Kenya. They're from Haiti. So y'all both from Africa, right?" Someone said I
What?
don't count as African American because my family is from Africa and I was born in America.
That is exactly the definition of that. And Haiti's nowhere in Africa at all. It's in the Caribbean.
I had someone legitimately tell me, if they didn't want to be slaves, why didn't they fight back?
They did. The white man killed them. Sad times.
Once people found out that the darker the color, the more heat it absorbs, it was pretty much over for me every summer because someone was going to call out the fact that, oh, you're really dark, so you must be really hot right now. People ask me if I speak African.
I think I did see this one in one of the other compilations, I believe. Very familiar. And no, you don't speak. Nobody speaks African. Africa is a continent full of countries with a bunch of different languages.
A lot. No matter what the athletic accolade I get, someone is going to say it's because I'm black. No, seriously, they're just going to be like, oh, you're dark skinned. Of course you're the fastest on the team. Okay. Stupidity is in no way a specifically American trait, but when Americans do it, damn, they do it well.
That part's true.
Okay, so I'm Canadian, but I went to elementary and middle school in Florida. During my 7th grade geography class, my teacher was doing a presentation on pollution. She showed a bar graph showing a bunch of different countries and how much they contributed to pollution. As you may expect, US and China was way at the top.
I
but
bet.
there was a piece of the graph showing how little Canada contributed. Me being a Canadian, I had a moment of pride and said, woohoo, Canada. To which my teacher responded, yeah, but that's because there aren't any cars in Canada, sweetie. And I said,
She thinks I can't even.
no, there are cars. My dad has one. We moved here in one. They have streets and highways and everything. And she said, sweetie, those are sleds. My geography teacher.
Oh. Okay.
My history teacher told me that British colonialism was a good thing in India because they gave us coffee and paved roads.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay, so before I get into this, I just want to preface this by saying I am from Cote d'Ivoire and Tanzania. I am from Africa, meaning that like that opens up the floor to like so many dumb questions and just weird ass fucking scenarios. So I have experienced a lot of dumb questions, I'll tell you that for free. But the one that comes to mind right now, okay, I'll try not to be too specific because I just, in case someone sees it, but even if someone sees it, I don't give a fuck. But anyways, I was out with a group of people and one of the people literally looked at me and asked, do you guys have highways wherever you're from?
Yeah, well, yes, I'm sure they probably do.
This babe literally asked me if we have roads wherever I'm from. like with her whole chest, asked me if the nigga was too stunned to speak. I'll tell you that for free. Ugh.
Jeez. Oh, that's great.
I'm kind of curious. What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So I'm Malawian. I live in the US, but my first time in the US
1 second here. I got to switch my mic or my sound. There we go.
was in 2012 in San Diego. And so one time we went to a restaurant with this girl and I think 3 other guys. And so we're standing in line. I think it was a fish restaurant, and then we get the menus, right? Like the one of the places you go in front and then you order, and then you have to like go back. And so I'm looking at the menu. I mean, something you do at a restaurant, and this girl.
Right.
Nobody asked her, but just looks at the waiter. Like, I wasn't even at the front of the line, but she looks at the waiter and she says, oh, so these two, so me and my best friend, we need some time because they're from Malawi and that's in Africa. So I don't think they'll be ready to order anytime soon. So they'll need time and maybe have a lot of questions.
What does that even mean? Is she talking down to you for being from another country? That's rude.
My best friend and I looked at each other and we're like, yeah, we're not eating here, not with them, we're going home. So, yeah.
So I was living in New York at the time, and I'm originally from southern Spain, and I was at this dinner party in New York City, and I was talking to this guy, and he finds out I'm from Spain, and he goes like, dude, so how long does it take you to drive from Spain to Manhattan? And I was like,
Oh my goodness.
and I looked at my friends, and my friends were like, he did. So I was like, I'm not gonna see this guy ever again in my entire life, so at least let's have a laugh at it. And I looked at him straight in the eye as serious as I could, and I was like, well, depending on the traffic and the fog, because you know, the ocean, it might take 18 to 20 hours. And he elbowed his friend and was like, dude, I told you it takes longer to drive to Texas. And I was like, he did not say that, but he did. He actually did.
Wow.
Oh my God, it was one hell of a night.
They are hanging out with some complete idiots, evidently. Jeez, man. Look at a map. Just look at a map. Spain, you don't even have to look at a map. Spain is on the other side of the ocean. Jeez.
Well, I am from northern Mexico, and 2 years ago I was on the beach. I was talking to an American, and he thought I was British. I think it was because of my accent. So I asked him what he thinks about Mexicans, and he said something like this. Well, Mexicans don't prosper because they are dark, short, ugly, eat beans every day, and they have no education. So they have to go to my country. And then I said, what? Are you mental? I am Mexican, bro. There's nothing wrong with being dark. And yeah, I like beans, but today I had lobster for dinner. And I am about 4 inches taller than you.
Well, first of all, the dude's lighter skinned than me, so he's not even dark. And second of all, why does he have a British English accent? That is strange.
And by the way, I think I am more handsome than you.
Oh my God, I have so many of this, but this would specifically stand out. I'm from Venezuela. So Latinos, we look very different from each other. We don't have a specific look that we all look, right?
Okay.
So
I think that's just most of humanity, but sure, go ahead.
I currently live in Atlanta, and Atlanta has a very good baseball team, the Braves, and one of their top players is Venezuela, Acuna. I was at this sports bar with American friends, and we were talking about Acuna and how he was Venezuelan, and you know, Venezuela has great talent for baseball players.
Okay.
And he said, oh, Acuna's Venezuelan? And I was like, yeah, isn't that great? He's great. And he was like, oh, but he's black. And I was like, yeah.
There's black people everywhere, man. You could have a black Chinese. You could have a black American. You know, you could have a black British, a black Venezuelan. Wow.
And he was like, I didn't know Venezuelans were black.
They're not.
And I was like,
I mean, some of them, I guess.
So I was an exchange student in the US, and I would randomly get asked by questions, and then
got some
one time
hum in
I
the
said I was
background.
Asian because Philippines is in Southeast Asia, and then they literally said, Philippines is in Asia? I thought it was in Europe. Girl. And then then one time I was in the bus, I got asked, do you have school?
Yeah, they have
Do you
school.
have farm animals in the Philippines?
Wow.
Do you know what an iPhone is?
Do you know what background noise suppression is? Because Jesus Christ, that humming is insane.
Girl, what do you think of some sort of a different planet? Like, this is why you need to go to school.
Well, the thing about school here is, it's not that good. It's not that good.
God.
How much time you got, motherfucker? I could do this shit all day. I'm going to Florida. Oh, really? Are you driving? Are you flying? I drove and it took me 17 hours. 17 hours? How many days is that? I want to visit Europe. Oh, really? What countries are you visiting? Oh, you know, the basics. No, I don't know. There's no tutorial to visiting countries. Do you mean Italy, France, Spain, Portugal? Stop it. Portugal's not in Europe.
Oh my goodness.
It is. However, let's pull up a map. That way we know what countries you would like to visit. Okay, now looking at this map, where would you go? I would go to the Netherlands because it's next to Amsterdam.
Amsterdam is in the Netherlands. Come on now.
It is the capital city of the Netherlands. We are looking at a map. God damn it.
When I was 14, we emigrated from Ireland to America, and obviously because I was 14, I had to go to school. So my first day of school, I went into my history class, and they were showing Far and Away as a movie about Irish immigration. Hilarious. And you know, they were showing all the thatch roof cottages and everything like that, and a girl turns around to me and she's just like, oh my god, is that what your house is like back in Ireland? And I was just like, yeah, totally. And she obviously didn't get the sarcasm. Isn't a very
I never seen that movie, so I don't know.
big thing there. But also, you know, this is the 90s, you know, we had no internet that back then, or Google or whatever, so people didn't really know much about it. So yeah, I could have made up anything, but that was one of the few things that was said to me when I lived in America.
Okay, so middle school Adya was on the bus ride home from school, 8th grade, right? And you know, all the kids, all the cool kids were 8th graders, were like in the back of the bus. We're just talking, and this kid, I remember his name, Brandon, asks, so when do you get your thing? And I'm like, what thing? Like, he's like, you're Indian, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm Indian. Like, what thing? And he was like, don't you have to get that thing in your forehead? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, don't you have to get surgery? Or like, don't they have to like implant that thing in your forehead? This man.
I don't think they implant. I don't think that's how it works, Brandon. Come on, Brandon.
I was talking about bindis. He thought we got... It's a sticker. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not an implant. Brandon.
Back in college, I was working as a technical support representative in one of the...
I think I've talked to him before. Like
biggest telcos in the US. One time I had this very angry customer because she's been transferred from one line to another. That's
Hopefully
why she's very enraged.
No.
But I managed to calm her down when I promised to do my best to solve her problem because she's now on the right line. Well, I am rebooting all of her system, including her internet.
My internet's been out for 2 days. I'm using a phone hotspot. I've been buying data on my phone so I can get these videos done for you guys. So come on now. If that doesn't earn a like, I don't know what does, because that's dedication.
She asked, am I talking to a monkey from the Philippines? Then I was like, what do you mean by that?
Racist.
Of course, I have to pretend I don't know what she meant. And she answered, never mind. You can't even grow apples there. And I was like, you know what, ma'am? I wanted to tell you something. You know, in the Philippines, we are producing one of the sweetest banana in the world. And we're shipping it to the US. You know why? She asked why. Because in the Philippines, only monkeys eat bananas. That's why we're shipping it there.
That's funny. Don't be racist, guys. Not fun. Not fair. That's what I meant to say. And it's not cool either.
So, we went to the zoo a few months ago, and
It's a prison for animals. That's what that is.
looking at those kangaroos, and I say something to my daughter along the lines of, "Oh, look at these kangaroos." And this lady behind me corrects me and says, like, "Oh no, those are wallabies," which they weren't. They were kangaroos. I know the difference. Anyway, I'm not correcting her. We move on, and eventually she hears me talk to my family, and she's like, "So where's your accent from?" And I told her from Austria, and she's like, "Oh, you should have known then that those are not kangaroos."
Austria is not Australia. Okay. Crikey.
I mean, no shade to Americans because I do dumb shit all the time.
Fair enough. So do I. And no shade taken.
But I once had a lady comment on a post when I said, "Thank God it's Friday," and she said, "It's Thursday, hun." And I said, "No, in Australia it's Friday." And then she accused me of gaslighting her, to which I answered, "I'm going to blow your mind when I tell you that it's actually summer in Australia too, while you're in winter." And then she called me a terrorist.
What? Oh, man.
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
I'm gonna do this video in English because it's so hilarious and I just want people to know. Because ironically, not many Americans know this. So I went to high school in Florida. When I first got there,
Florida.
Latina, Hispanic, I don't remember if I was in a classroom or at lunch. I think it was before the class started in a classroom. And to some people, even though my English can be okay, gringos can tell I'm a foreigner.
Yeah, you good English. I can tell you're a foreigner just by your accent, but yeah, your English is pretty good. I can understand what she's saying.
So this white girl that was in front of me, she heard me talking to somebody and she asked where I was from. So I said, "Oh, I'm from Puerto Rico." And then she went, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Why? It must have been so harsh for you to get here as an immigrant.
Puerto Rico is an American territory, guys. I don't know why it's not a state, but the American government controls it. I don't know if they control it. I think they govern themselves, but it's an American territory.
Not the colonizer not knowing they colonized me. No, I'm an U.S. citizen since 1917 because Puerto Rico was invaded by the U.S. in 1898. But Puerto Rico is not in America. Diablo, que tipa más bestia, holy shit.
Yeah, so if I wanted to go to Puerto Rico, I'm pretty sure I could without a passport. I believe. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure I can go there. No problems, I think.
When I was last in America, this guy was like, "Hey man, where's your accent from?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm British." And then he was like, "British? It sounds more like Scottish or something." First of all, my accent is very clearly English. It's not Scottish.
Yeah.
Second, Scotland is in Great Britain, so a Scottish accent is a British accent anyway.
Yup.
So I'm American, obviously, but I got a story for you. This one time, I was at an audition in Nashville, and I was sitting next to this pretty blonde girl. I asked her where she was from, and she said, "I'm from Alabama. How about you?" "Nice. I'm from Oklahoma." "Huh? I'm from Oklahoma? What is that?" "Excuse me? What is that? What is it? It's a state.
It's a state, yeah.
Like in the United States?" "Yes.
Jeez.
In the United States of America." I've never heard of that." "You've never heard of Oklahoma?" "No, where is that?" It's like right in the middle of the country.
Yeah, it's
Like,
right in the middle.
Right above Texas, you know? "Oh. So it's next to California?" That is 100% a true story.
Oh my goodness.
Canadian here. Right
Canadian.
after I moved to America, I went to the Social Security office so that I could apply for a Social Security number so that I could work in America. I went up to the little kiosk and I punched in that I was applying for my very first Social Security number. And the man who was working there said, "Excuse me, ma'am, you're going to want to punch in that you're applying for a replacement card, not a new number." And I said, "No, sir, I don't have a Social Security number. I am applying for the first time." And he said, "And you're an American?"
I mean, technically, Canadians are Americans. Technically, I mean, this is the North American continent. I don't understand. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself too. But usually, when somebody says American, they are speaking of somebody from the United States of America. But technically, Canada is American, and she has a very average accent. So I would, you know, she didn't tell me she's from Canada. I would assume she's from the United States. She doesn't have the, you know, Canadians do have a certain accent sometimes, but not always. And I feel like it's getting less and less these days because of the globalization and TV and all that. They're starting to sound more like United States, but Canadians have certain ways to say things. Like, you know, when they say about,
I said no.
we pronounce it about, they say a boot. You know, stuff like that would give it away that they're Canadian. But at the same time, people from Minnesota have about the same accent as people from Canada, I feel like, and that's in the United States. So,
Oh, sir, I actually just moved here from Canada just a couple of weeks ago. And he said this. Ma'am, I have to say, your English is amazing.
What?
Yeah.
After learning my name, people like to ask me where I'm from.
What's your
And
name?
I tell them, I'm from Czech Republic. And then they ask, what do I speak? And so I tell them, I speak Czech. And then they ask me, oh, so you speak Russian?
No, Czech.
So are you Russian? Czechoslovakia, that's a part of Russia. So you're Russian.
It's not.
So you
but-
grew up in the USSR. You're Russian. Do you speak Russian? Do you speak Russian? Do you speak Russian? Do you speak Russian?
Jeez.
Говоришь по-русски. Oh yeah, that's right. You must be Russian. No, I'm not. Wrong country, wrong language, and the wrong country.
I will say her English is phenomenal.
So I'm gonna just preface this and say I'm from Canada, right? And the one time I ever went to Los Angeles, California, I was somewhere around Santa Monica Beach with my family, and I went to a skate shop and I bought myself a skate deck. And when I told the dude who was working there, who sold me the deck, when I told him I was Canadian, his response, like his mouth dropped and he was like, "You can skateboard in snow?" And I laughed and said, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, it's a frozen wasteland there, isn't it?" And it's like, "No, it's sunny, and like there's only snow for 85% of the year. The other 15%, you can skateboard like nothing, right?" And he's like, "Oh, well, if it isn't snowy all the time, how do you live in igloos?"
Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
I'm not lying at all.
So I'm from Germany, but I've lived in Switzerland for my entire life until 2015 when my family moved to the US, and I spent 2 years living there, so I've heard a lot of dumb shit, but here's the worst of it. So one time I was with a group of people and I was on the phone with my friend in Germany, and when we hung up I said, "Good night, sleep well." And this guy is like, so he goes, "Why is she going to bed? It's like 3 p.m. And so I had to explain that because she's in Germany, she's 6 hours ahead because of time zones. And he looks really confused, like, and then he asked me if Germany is 6 hours ahead, why did nobody ever warn them about 9/11 happening? This guy literally thought that time zones meant that you could time travel.
Wow.
Once I was sitting in a bar in Atlanta, and this man kept calling me an Arab. And, like, I didn't know what an Arab was, because Americans can't pronounce shit, man. And so, like, I was just staring at him, like, what is this dude saying? And I was like, I don't understand your accent. And my American friend said to me, he's calling you an Arab. And I was like, oh. And I turned around and I went, dude, no, I'm Pakistani. This one isn't about me being brown. This one is about me being English. So I was out with my friends at this, like, pizza place, I think, and some dude came over and he was a friend of my friend. And he was like, do you guys have pizza in the UK? Like,
yeah.
like seriously, do we have pizza? Like, not even sarcastic. And I was like, oh, you know, they banned pizza in the 80s because the Queen choked on some pizza. And, like, so now you can only buy pizza on the black market. And it's really hard because, like, you don't know the kind of quality they put in the cheese. Sometimes it's, like, rat milk and the vegetables are, like, they come from, like, the trash. And he was like, shit, man, England is rough. Yeah, don't even have pizza.
So some basic biatch in Costco looked at me and said, go back to your own country. I was with my mom who wears a headscarf. And I was like, honey, I have no accent. And I know there are 50 states in this greater America. Do you know that?
Well, technically you have a gay accent. And that's not a gay, like, you know, to each their own, whatever. But the accent is of a gay person. Nothing wrong with that. Again, you know, I don't, it's not for me, but to each their own. Let everybody live their own life. But I could totally tell that the guy is gay by his accent. So he does have an accent, okay, guys?
Do you know that? Have you written 2 novels, honey? Can you spell tsunami? Tsunami. Tsunami, bitch. I mean, give me a break. When you look at foreigners and immigrants in this country and say, go back to your own country, honey, we speak better English than you do, and we have more degrees, counted degrees, than you can ever get. You basic American from Idaho. Eat your potatoes and shut your mouth.
I'd like to buy this 6-pack of beer, please. Cool, I'll just need to see your ID. Here you go. I can't take that. You can't take my passport? It's not a valid form of ID. You gotta have American ID to buy alcohol in America.
Wow.
It's an American passport. It says my birthplace is Tennessee. You gotta get an American passport to come to America. Everybody knows that. You know that, because you have one. That's not true at all. If you're such an American, why can't you just give me your driver's license? Because my wallet got stolen. And even if I did have that, you can take a passport. Let me go ask my manager if she'll make an exception. Wow. Hi, what seems to be the problem here? Your cashier won't let me use my passport as identification to buy beer. Yeah, you gotta have an American ID to buy alcohol in America. But that's really cool, though. I've never seen a passport before. Where are you from? Here!
You know, I got a story. So, long time ago, probably about 10 years ago or so, maybe a little longer, I used to drink more, right? So there's this bar that I would go to, and I'd been going there, you know, once a week for a while. Well, then I went there one time, and then the bartender, which is the same bartender, exact same bartender that been serving me every week for a couple months now, right? Said that I can't buy any beer there, and I'd have to leave because my ID wasn't valid or whatever, right? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, it's expired. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not driving. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's an ID card. Or, well, it was a driver's license, but it doubles as an ID card, right? So he's saying because it's expired, I can't buy beer. Well, the only reason that you'd get carded is to make sure you're old enough. I was trying to explain to him that just because my ID expired doesn't make my age any different at all. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you were serving me last week. And he's like, well, it wasn't expired last week. But you were clarifying that you agree with me last week I was of age to buy alcohol. It's been proven that I was of age to buy alcohol. Now this week it's expired and you can't serve me when we both know my age is over 21. I don't understand. I could not get it through his head. He turned me down and I had to leave. Oh man, I was kind of upset. I ended up going to a different bar anyways, but I had a better time there anyhow. But I didn't understand that. Just some people, it just frustrates me how low some people's IQ are.
Do you have Christmas in Ireland? Yes, we do. Do you have Thanksgiving in Ireland? No, we don't.
Do you have snakes in Ireland? No, you don't.
Do you have Halloween in Ireland? We invented a fucking thing.
I have made a video before about the dummy dumb shit Americans have said to me since moving here, and almost every single day, especially when I would work at the movie theatre, I would get people coming up to me, just staring and being like, I didn't know there were black people from England. Like, okay, keep that shit to yourself. That's embarrassing.
So let's set the scene. It's early July and I'm in Marrakesh. I've just checked into this hostel and I'm sitting on one of these chairs here by the pool.
Okay.
So this young couple from Georgia sparks up a conversation with me. So the couple invite me up to like the roof, this like roof patio thing, to see the fireworks. So we end up on the roof terrace here, mingling with various nationalities. And the Americans are asking like, does anyone know when the fireworks start? Everyone's a bit confused. Anyway, it transpires that it is the 4th of July, American Independence Day. We're in Morocco. There's maybe like 10 of us all trying to explain to this American couple why they probably don't have fireworks for the 4th of July in Marrakesh, Morocco.
Yeah.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Stay tuned for more.
Wow.
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
I already said this before, but I'm gonna say it again because some people could be so ignorant and stupid. So I went to college in the States, and this American asked me where I'm from, so I told him I'm from Korea, but my family resides in the Philippines. And this dude had the audacity to ask me if people in the Philippines eat mangoes and bananas every day, and do they live in a hut or a shack. And this is exactly what I told him, word by word. And I said, bro, you do know that's fucking racist, right? And the guy's like, how is that racist? And I asked him the same question, and I said, hey, I heard Americans love to shoot people, especially in schools. Is that true? And he's like, that's racist. It's so ironic that US have one of the best universities in the world, but some people can be so extremely stupid.
A lot of people gave good content on this, but let me tell you from my experience, I'm a leasing specialist and I do like meet a lot of people. I know everybody gets this question, where you from, where you're from. Say you're from the America or from the Canada. So I live in Canada. So this white man goes, where you from? I said, from Canada. And he said, no, like, where you from? I said, I'm from Canada. And then he goes, no, like, you know, my parents are from Portugal, so I am from Portugal. I said, oh, my parents are from Canada. I am from Canada. And he goes, no, where are you ethnically from? I said, I'm ethnically from Canada. Guys, I'm an immigrant. I came here for school. My parents are in India. Like, I don't care. You guys do the same. Watch their faces drop and be like, what is this person saying? Like, do they get the question? Are they dumb? I'm dumb. Say I'm from America. I was born. My parents are born here. Everybody's from.
Unfortunately, I have way too many of these stories, but I'll pick the worst one. So I used to be a tour guide for the university that I went to. And before we start the tour and start walking everywhere, I usually say something corny like, I'm going to be walking up front here, blah, blah, blah. If any of you guys want to give me company, it's lonely up here. We can chit chat, whatever. I'll say something like that. So a printer paper person came up to me and was like, hey, I have a personal question for you. To which I'm excited. Oh, they're coming up to me. Yes, personal question. This is probably about financial aid. It's about women's safety. It's about something like that. I was wrong. This man asked me why I was allowed to be in school and that he assumed I was Indian and why haven't my parents gotten me an arranged marriage and how was I allowed to be in school.
Wow.
And mind you, he was not quiet, so everyone on the tour heard me and I had to answer in front of everybody. Also in front of students walking by.
Oh wow, you speak perfect English.
That's funny.
So I'm from the US and I've been living in Spain for 5 years. A few years ago, a Spanish friend of mine who would teach English sent me a screenshot of a paper that one of her students who was around the age of 16 to 18 wrote. It was comparing diets, and it said word for word that people from the US are unhealthy because they eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner in a fast food restaurant. And I know people in the US don't have a healthy diet, but I don't know a single person who does this. In my
I've known people that do that, but not necessarily myself.
household growing up, my mother would cook dinner every night. We ate at a restaurant, fast food or otherwise, maybe 2 times per month. I also know how to cook and regularly cook. I'll definitely give you all that people in the US probably eat way more fast food than other places, but
Yeah.
I just don't know anybody that goes there for every single meal every.
Yeah, that's right. I do a lot of cooking, actually. I enjoy cooking food.
I'm American, but I gotta take this L. So freshman year of college, my friends and I go up to Canada to have a fun weekend, whatever. We're partying, having fun. We don't sleep at all, right? We get to the border. I'm in the backseat, knocked, slumped out. Border Patrol knocks on the window. He's asking everyone questions. He comes to me, looks at my passport. Sir, what's your nationality? I go, Louis Barbosa. He goes, no, sir, what's your nationality? I go, Haitian, Dominican, or Puerto Rican. Choose whichever one. Everyone in the car staring at me like, bro, what are you saying right now? You're about to get us arrested. I'm like, what am I saying wrong, right? Everyone's looking at me. So the Border Patrol tries to dumb it down for me. He goes, sir, where are you from? I go, New York City. He goes, okay, so what's your nationality? So now everyone's staring at me and I'm getting tight. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is that? He's looking at me. I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. He goes, yeah, you're American. Go right through. Yo, son, thank God we wasn't coming back from Mexico.
Jeez.
I think we can all agree that the school system is shit. They don't teach us anything that they need to teach us. We don't know half the shit that we're supposed to. You should, in adulthood, go outside and learn your own shit and research. Google is free.
And that's what I'm doing.
But I spent some time in Hawaii. This was pre-quarantine, maybe 2 years ago, a year ago. But I spent some time in Hawaii, and I had become friends with a lot of people down there. And this guy, this white lady, older white lady, comes up to him, and she's like, "Where are you from? Where are you from?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm from here, actually." He asked this lady, "And where are you from?" And she goes, "I'm from the United States of America." Yeah, y'all, I must have fucking cackled all the way over. She proceeds to say to him, "Wow, you speak really good English for a Hawaiian."
So when I was 16, I did an exchange program in the US from Brazil for 6 months. And I remember it was December time, and I was telling one of my friends how I had spoken to my parents, and they were at the beach because it was really hot and, summer in Brazil at that time. And then she looked me straight in the eyes and asked me, "Oh, so is it July in Brazil now?"
I'm an American that has recently moved to London, and I've had multiple American friends ask me what language they speak here in England.
Wow.
One even asked me if I had to learn French to live here.
It's in the name. English. England. Come on now.
In England.
England.
Part 2, here we go. So we're still in Marrakesh. So the American couple have assumed me as their cameraman, and we're at the YSL Museum getting some Instagram pics for them. And they're like, "Hey, do you want to go and get coffee?" So we hail a taxi. I expect we're going to end up somewhere like this. The Americans basically insist the taxi driver takes them to Starbucks, and he has no idea what they're talking about. But they've obviously done their research because they knew the name of the shopping center and where there was basically a brand new Starbucks that had just opened. So we're at this Starbucks in the middle of Marrakesh, and I'm asking them, "So are you going to go to the desert, or are you going to go up north? What's your plans for this trip?" They tell me they have flights in 2 weeks back to the States from Cape Town, South Africa. I thought they could hitchhike in 2 weeks from here to here, and that would be perfectly normal. I'm kind of like, well, Africa's a big continent, and their response was basically that America is a big country. They're used to hitchhiking in the States.
Africa ain't the States, though.
Comparing hitchhiking across this country here versus this whole continent here.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm going to have to do a part 3. So part 3, here we go. So I'm still in Marrakesh. So after Starbucks, they drag me to H&M. We're in Morocco and they want to hang around H&M. I wish I knew the ending, but honestly, your guess is as good as mine. They had my Instagram, but they never followed me, so I don't know what became of them. I don't know if they got to Cape Town and made their flight.
I would say no.
So I do have a theory that they actually weren't going to Cape Town in the first place, and they just made it up for clout. I have this theory because the night before, when they first met me, they'd asked me, "Is this your first time in Africa?" It wasn't the first African country I'd been to. I'd been to Kenya, Tanzania, and South Africa before. So I think maybe they wanted to seem like worldlier, and they just made up this whole trip and they weren't actually going to Cape Town. Love to know what you guys think, and maybe they'll see this on TikTok and I'll find out like what happened. But yeah, your guesses are as good as mine, and I'm sorry I can't give you.
Yeah, I would say they didn't get to Cape Town.
Hi. Yeah, fellow American here. And this is still the dumbest thing an American has ever said to me, because I'm from Alaska, the 49th state, which somehow gets lost in translation to the 48 other states that came before us, who somehow forget that we're a state, because then we have people who come up to Alaska and they walk into my tour shop and they're like, hi, where's the currency exchange?
Oh, geez.
Are you planning a trip to Canada? We are like right close to the border. No. I need Alaskan money.
Wow.
Are you not from the United States? No, I'm from Kansas. But I need Alaskan money. Ma'am, did you miss the giant American flag right outside I can see it out my window. There's also one at the post office just across the street. It's the same. It's the same money. Stay tuned for part 2.
I'm assuming we're talking about white Americans here, right? So, story time.
White Americans.
I was partying at my friend's house, and one of his friends, who's a straight white man, was also there. I don't remember what was the last time I talked to a straight white man, but anyway. So we said hi to each other. I told him my name's Jackie. Then he asked me what my middle name was. And I thought to myself, this is not a normal question you would ask someone, especially when you don't know about each other.
Right.
I guess what he really wanted to know was where I came from and what my legal Chinese name was.
Maybe he was trying to see if his name was Chan, because Jackie Chan.
So I just told him I'm from China and people in China don't have a fucking middle name. And he was like,
Oh,
wow, I
yeah.
didn't know. But anyway, I am pretty sure if I were a white American, he wouldn't ask me that question in the first place.
That's awesome, guys.
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So this was when I was in high school, and this was about a sub. She was violently racist. Like, she would go up to hijabi students and say stuff like, this is a safe space, you guys can take that off. So one day I'm sitting there, I'm complaining to my friends about my counselor because my schedule was all messed up. I put in so many requests. My counselor was lazy and she was not getting it done. So I'm loudly complaining about it. And the sub, the nosy bitch she comes up in front of me and she's like, hey, I couldn't help but to overhear. If the counselor's not getting what you need done, my advice to you is to have your parent email. Does your mother know English? Another day, she was talking to one of the white girls about her boyfriend, and
That's rude. Does your mother know English? That's rude.
completely unmerited, turned around to me and asked, you wouldn't be able to do that, right? Because you guys get forced into marriage?
No comment. I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know.
Excuse me, lady. Do you speak Asian? I'm sorry, what? Asian? Which Asian? There are like over 2,000 languages spoken in Asia.
Oh, wow. 2,000. I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm looking for rice wine. I mean, here you go, but it literally says rice wine in English. Do you know if this one is spicy? I mean, I guess so. There's literally a chicken blowing a fire on that bottle. Thank you.
That one wasn't that funny. I'm sorry to her, but it wasn't. I didn't think it. I mean, it was kind of funny. It was a little funny.
Oh man, I've got so many of these from Mill Talk. For real, I've got so many.
Mill Talk.
And like a recent video, the British version of English is way different than the American version. For instance, and I'm not going to say here on TikTok, but how to smoke a cigarette in the UK is very derogatory and dark as an American. My biggest pet peeve, though, is if I introduce myself as an American, America is not 3 places, 4 places. There are more places than Texas, New York, California, and Florida. Seriously, everybody thinks we're either from New York, California, or Texas.
I'm from Indiana, unfortunately.
No, we're not. Sorry, try again.
Right.
Hi, I'm American. So this was in high school during one of our art classes. So as we're drawing, we do small talk, and somehow we got on a topic of overpopulation. Mind you, this was 2013 when the Philippines was getting messed up by floods. This
Okay.
one girl says, it's good that the Philippines getting messed up by floods, you know, because overpopulation.
Wow.
And I'm like dumbstruck. And the girl next to her goes, dude, she's Filipino.
I'd have been pissed if I was Filipino and somebody said that to me. It's like, what do you mean? You want all my friends and family to die?
And that girl looks over to me and she's like, oh, I didn't know she was Filipino. I thought she was Asian.
Okay, so basically like 7 or 8 years.
Isn't Philippines in Asia? That's part of Asia, right? Am I wrong? My map's too far away, but I think so.
Years ago, I was at Victoria Coach Station in London, and I met this American girl, and we started talking, and she's like, oh my God, where you from? And I was like, well, I was born and raised in Romania, but I've been living in England for like 3 years now.
She's a vampire. She's from Romania.
And we started talking about different topics, blah, blah. And then we started talking about politics. And I don't actually remember what I said, but I was talking about the Romanian president. And he's like, oh my God, he did this and blah, and I'm not really into politics. And then she looked at me like she was flabbergasted, like, wow. And then she asked me, oh, you guys have a president as well? I thought it was just an American thing.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Oh man, some Americans are really dumb. Not all of us. We do have some educated Americans, believe it or not. I know it's not as fun to showcase those because it's like boring, you know. But we do have some smart Americans. We have some Americans that are aware of the rest of the world and, you know, are aware of other cultures. There is Americans that travel. It's just less common here. A lot of Americans are dumb, but it's just so striking to me how dumb some of them can be. And I probably fit into that too. I'm sure I've said some dumb things. I know I have, and I've got corrected in the comment section quite a bit. You guys are good about that. But yeah.
So I'm an American expat who's lived abroad for over 10 years. And every year I hear other Americans ask, why doesn't this country celebrate Thanksgiving?
Oh my gosh.
I tell everyone I'm Canadian now.
Yes, that's something I've heard quite a bit, where Americans get like a negative viewpoint, you know, if they introduce themselves as American in other countries. So a lot of Americans, when they go abroad and somebody says, what country are you from? A lot of them will just say Canada because it's just very believable. We're so culturally similar and our accent is very similar. I mean, Canadians do have a distinct sort of accent, but at the same time, not all of them do. But parts of America have that accent too. Some parts of like Minnesota, I've noticed some people from there sort of sound like a Canadian accent. I think like Upper Maine, some of them can sound a little Canadian. It just depends on where you are. So it's very believable. And being from Canada is less shameful on a global level than being from America. So like, I get it.
So before having an American driver's license, I only had my Danish one, and I had to use that at a store, at a Walmart. And the cashier looks at my Danish driver's license and she goes, oh, where are you from? And me, I tell her, oh, I'm from Denmark. And she says, oh, where's that? And I say, it's in Scandinavia.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh.
Or Europe.
Oh, where's that? And I tell her, that's in Europe. And she goes, oh, so in Canada. I did not know how to respond to that.
I live in Arizona, and I graduated high school here. But one of my first days in high school, this girl sat next to me in English class. She was like, "Oh, where you from?" And then I tell her I'm from Denmark, and she's like, "Oh, isn't that in Chicago?"
Oh my.
I went to school in the States, so I got a lot of these. But my favorite is when I call myself Asian. They're like, "Oh, I didn't know you were Asian. You look Indian."
The dumbest thing I can remember was like 5 years ago. I had been in the States for like 2 months, so I didn't really hate anybody yet. And this lady at work, I walk into her office and she's like, "Oh, where are you from? Because like I hear an accent." And I told her and she's like, "Oh, no offense, but I'm going to offend anyways. But I love how Hispanic people, you guys just don't care about problems. You just care about the music, the food, and sex. And fiestas."
Was he Spanish though? He didn't sound like he had a Spanish accent. Maybe she got it wrong. I don't know.
First of all, let me just start off by saying that it is incredibly difficult to come up with just one story for something like this, but I'm going to try. In 2009, I was doing this summer program for high school students in LA where I met this girl who I guess was super fascinated by the fact that I was originally from India. One day she asked me, she was like, "How do you guys get around where you're from?" I was like, "What do you mean, how do we get around?"
They jump on that magic carpet and fly. That's what I would have told her. Like, yeah, we just have magic carpets.
We drive. She seemed genuinely confused, and she looked at me and she was like, "Wait, you guys have cars in India?"
Wow.
I was like, "Babe, yeah, I'm from New Delhi. It's the capital. Of course we have cars. What?" She very seriously looked at me and said, "I thought you guys rode elephants everywhere."
Wow.
My mom's side of the family is from Ecuador, so I ended up living there for 7 years as a kid. So this one day I'm hanging out with my white American ex, and he asks me to show him what it looks like where my family lives. So I dropped a little Google pin so I can show him, and he looked so confused. And he turns to me and he says, "Is this a neighborhood?" Long story short, this man was not expecting that we had houses.
Perfect this came up because it involves this shirt. So the cashier at the Dollar Tree complimented me on my shirt and he said, "Was Bob Dylan one of the Beatles?" So I said no, but they were around the same time so that he wouldn't feel like a complete idiot. And the older lady behind me, who happened to be Australian, scoffs and goes, "No, he wasn't. He came way after the Beatles." And I didn't argue with her. I just like, "Oh, okay." But I know that I wasn't wrong. Like, I wonder if she ever realized that she was wrong.
Oh, Bob Dylan was out a year before, right? Wow. I knew that they were around the same time, but I didn't know which one came first. I'm not like a music ologist or anything,
Because that was really embarrassing for her.
I'm late to the trend, but I need to tell this. So a long time ago, I was on vacations with my family in Mexico. And usually we have direct flights from Mexico to Lisbon. Yes, I'm Portuguese.
Okay.
And yeah, we had a direct flight from Lisbon to Cancun. And we were supposed to also have a direct flight from Cancun to Lisbon. But there were problems. So instead, we needed to do a stop in the United States. So when we stopped at the United States and they asked to see our passports, things got confusing. Because when the policemen took our passports for the control for checking, they said that we could not pass because our passports were wrong. He said that where it says country, it should be Spain because Portugal is not a country, but a city from Spain. Oof,
And the Border Patrol customs agent said that. Oh, wow. They are in charge there. They should know their stuff. That is part of their job. That is insane.
I got a lot of these because I married an American and I used to live in America, but this was my first experience and it
Sorry, but I like the ears. That's cool.
Happened when I was 19 and I was visiting my boyfriend's family for the first time. So I'm trying to make a good impression, and I was sitting at a table of young women, and one of these young ladies turns to me and said, "So where are you from?" Like, I had the audacity to be from somewhere else. And I said, "I'm from Australia. I'm from Western Australia." And she said, "Oh, that's where my chinchilla is from." And I was like, "Your chinchilla? I don't think those are Australian." And she was like, "Well, they are," and looks at me like I'm the fucking moron who's calling myself Australian and doesn't know the chinchilla, the national animal of Australia. So I said, "Oh, I don't think they do." So this is 12 years ago, pre-iPhone in the pocket days. So she gets on the living room computer and Googles chinchilla and opens the Wikipedia page and goes to the region section, points to the word Argentina on a map of South America and says, "See, there."
Wow.
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
I was in an Uber. He told me that, "What are the last two letters of COVID?" ID. There's microchips in the vaccine, and there's your proof. He continued to say, "COVID-19, first letter of the alphabet is A, ninth letter is I, AI. They're turning us into robots."
Oh, wow.
He also said that the vaccine is full of dead babies, aborted babies, and he doesn't want to be injected with a black girl baby.
So not only is he dumb, but he's racist.
And then he ended it with telling me the pandemic's not real, and started taking his mask off, and I told him, "Drop me off immediately." He accused me of not being able to handle the truth.
Wow. I don't trust the vaccine either, but I'm not going to sit there and say that I don't even want to repeat it because it's sick. But that is not that is not what it is. There's no microchips in there. There's no other stuff that I don't want to mention because it's sick. It's sick. That's not in there. That is not part of the vaccine. That is insanity.
In middle school, like 7th grade, 6th grade maybe, and a student peer of mine said, "Aren't Jewish people extinct?" Me, a Jew.
Wow.
I saw another video that had the same answer as this, but it happened to me, so I'm gonna let you know. I am from Jamaica. I got here in 2018, early 2019. And I worked at Trader Joe's, so I'd interact with a lot of white people. A lot of people were always like, "Oh my God, how's your English so good?" And I'd have to explain to them that we speak English in Jamaica. But I forgot.
They also speak patois, something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, there's an actual language in Jamaica called patois or something like that, which is a variation of English. It's like some of it's English, like it sounds like some of the words are English, but there's a lot of words that's clearly not.
Forgave them because it is Latin America and they probably think we all speak Spanish. But I remember one time this old lady that was always friendly with me, always used to cash out at my register. One day she said to me how we got around in Jamaica, and I was genuinely confused. Like, what do you mean, how do we get around? She's like, if we use cows and donkeys.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "No, we drive cars." And she goes, "There are roads there?" And I go, "Yeah, like paved streets." And she goes, "Oh my God."
So first off, I want to say I'm Native American of the UMA.
What do you say? Hold on.
First off, I want to say I'm Native American of the UMA. But we all know who you mean by American. So a while back, a few months ago, this American asks me, "Why do me and my son have long hair?" Right? Since we're boys or whatever. And I was like, "We're Native American. We're of the Yomi tribe." And he goes,
"Okay.
No." I was like, "Excuse me?" He goes, "Native Americans are extinct. We call them." I'm like,
first of all, did he try to say extinct? Because instinct is not what... They're not extinct at all. I actually have Native American DNA. It's interesting. It's a huge culture that still exists. Unfortunately, they're pushed off to tribes, certain like sanctioned areas. It's sad. It's unfortunate, but they're not extinct for sure.
"Are you serious?" And I noticed he had a bag from the Desert Diamond Casino, and I go, Who do you think runs the casinos?
Right.
He kind of looks at me with a blank expression. I'm like, we're not all dead. Dumbass. Oh, excuse me. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
No, you're good.
So I'm American. I live in London. My boyfriend is English. And the first time I took my boyfriend back to America to see where my family lives, after years of being together and months of planning this trip, we landed at the Louisville International Airport, and my boyfriend looks up and sees Louisville and looks at me and asks, when do we get to go to Kentucky?
Louisville is in Kentucky. Wow. In fact, is it the capital? Is it the capital of Kentucky? It might be. I think it is. I could be wrong. Don't roast me in the comment section if I'm wrong. But Louisville is most certainly in the state of Kentucky.
Don't make fun of us all the time for not knowing where your towns and cities are. That's hypocritical.
So I studied with this African American guy in Beijing, and he was like talking about how he wants to visit Africa and stuff, but it's too dangerous. I was like, not everywhere in Africa is dangerous. Zambia is actually very safe. And he's like, nope. The last time I checked, you guys are always burning each other, always have wars and kill each other. I'm like, what is this nigga talking about? Like, literally, hold on, check this out. What you see right here is the Global Peace Index for 2020, and Iceland, New Zealand are obviously up there.
Oh, so Iceland's the most peaceful place? Okay. Don't go there if you're afraid of volcanoes, though. Most certainly. But if you want peace, go to Iceland.
And then we have Zambia over here, coming at number 44, if you can see that. And
Where's
then
the
we've
USA?
got the mighty United States of America,
Wow.
coming at 121.
Wow.
I mean, it's just not logical. We've never had war since the British, my nigga. Since the British.
Stop saying the N-word. I guess you're allowed to because you're black, but still. This is my channel here, okay?
So, family vacation in Disneyland. Some guy hears us talking and says, hey, are you guys from Canada? My dad goes, yeah, we're from Canada. And the guy's like, oh, okay. We can see he's like, clearly wants to ask something. And eventually he gets up the courage and he's like, so, what's it like down here? And my dad's like, oh, we like Disneyland. It's cool. The guy goes, no, but like, what's it like driving?
They might
So my
have
dad
flew.
asks, well, what do you mean? And the guy goes, so do you get like cars at the border, or how does that work? So me, being the eternal jackass of my family, interject. I say, yeah, they got a little training spot at the border, and you trade in your sled dogs, and they look after them. There's like a fee or whatever. But yeah, we get to drive and try it out. They even let me drive. I was like maybe 10 at the time. Then, no word of a lie, as my dad is expecting this random stranger to lose his mind, the stranger goes, wow, that Canadian education system is really great.
They got cars in Canada, guys. It's almost like a little America, little United States. Now, I know the Canadians aren't going to like that, but, you know, Canadians to United States is kind of like Belgians are to the Netherlands, in my opinion.
Okay, so I studied abroad in America in 2014. Yes, I'm that old. And I got talking
old
to a
too.
guy in a bar, and he asked me that age-old question if I ride kangaroos to school. And I was like, no, obviously I don't ride kangaroos to school. I ride emus.
I was gonna say ostrich, but yeah, emu. That's great.
Kangaroos are so old school. Anyway, he ate that up. And then he asked me how long I'd been living in America for, and I said, oh, about 2 months at this point. And he's like, wow, your English is amazing for someone who hasn't been here that long.
Some people are just idiots. English is not only spoken in the United States of America or Britain. Come on now.
To which I had to laugh and say, we speak English in Australia. And he like wasn't even ashamed. He was like, oh, wow, really? You learn something new every day.
I lived in Florida for about a year as an exchange student from Colombia, and somebody asked me what language I spoke, and before I said anything, he said, what, Mexican? That's not even...
Okay, so I was born
That's not a language. Spanish is the language, and I don't even know if they speak that in Colombia. Do they? It might be Portuguese or I don't know if Colombia has. I don't think Colombia has their own language. I don't know for sure. I don't know a whole lot about South America, honestly.
I'm in Venezuela, but I grew up in the US, and my parents and we've gotten asked if we have cars, elevators, traffic lights, fast food restaurants, sidewalks, houses and apartments in Venezuela. Yes, we do. Why wouldn't we have those things?
I think a lot of the American education system kind of pushes this idea. They always, the propaganda, right? America's the greatest country in the world. It's the most free, right? They always compare it to like these Amazonian tribes or like these tribes in the middle of Africa. So a lot of Americans have this weird perception that like every other country is kind of like Africa, living in villages and huts and stuff. And that is certainly not the case. In fact, most other countries, a lot of other countries in Europe and stuff like that are actually better off than we are here with better infrastructure. Imagine that, right?
I don't understand, but okay. My dad told me this funny story of how in the 70s my uncle dated this American girl and they lived together in an apartment in Chicago. And apparently she thought that in Venezuela people didn't have kitchens. And so when my dad and grandpa went to go visit them, she was like, come here. You see this? This is a fridge. And she started doing that to everything in the kitchen and they were like, okay, we know. And so months later she went to go visit them in Venezuela and realized that people do have kitchens. And you could tell that she was so embarrassed and she felt stupid. And my grandpa was like, come here. And he reenacted everything that she did when they went to go visit her. And so
That's great. This is a fridge. This is a toaster. That over there is a microwave.
This is quite possibly the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I will tell this story any chance I get.
Okay.
So we're in Costa Rica, and we're playing volleyball with a big group of Europeans.
Okay.
All of a sudden, one of them scores, and he goes, Kobe Bryant!
So the story still continues because we just had a day full of really dumb comments, and it was my friend's birthday and we ended up being at Tao for dinner. And when we were ordering drinks, of course, they were checking our ID, and the first ID that she got was my friend's whose birthday it was, and she just walked off with it. She was like, I need to go get my manager. We were like, oh, that's so strange. And her and the manager come back and we're like, this is a fake ID. And we were like, no, it's not. She was like, there's no 23rd month and there's no state of Queensland. And we all had
Yeah, wow. Yeah, because like the rest of the world doesn't do the month first. That's the thing here. Like, so it's January, 17th. So here we do 1/17/24. Everywhere else they would do 17/1/24. They do the day, then the month.
to be like, literally everywhere else in the world does it day, month, year.
Yeah.
And it's from Australia. So of course there's no Queensland in America. We're Australian. And she was like, no. And then the manager had to be like, oh, sorry. Ooh.
Wow.
Oh, I'm a customer service agent.
And that's what gets me. It's like you got stupid people in charge that make decisions that affects you personally. Like the Australian lady, like they're like, oh no, you're not Australian. Oh no. That affects her because there's stupidity in seats of power. It's sad.
Agent.
Like, oh, sorry. Ooh.
So I'm a customer service agent and an American guy had called in. We quickly started talking and I mentioned that I was from Cape Town. He tried to mention a few places in Cape Town that he could
Is Cape Town, is that South Africa? Am I right in thinking that?
remember. So he mentioned Table Mountain and he started talking about the animals that we have, like the lions that roam the earth. And then he quickly said that he can remember that we had a natural disaster called apartheid. At first I thought he was talking about the ocean, but then I realized that he thought apartheid was a natural disaster.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't know what that is. You make fun of me, laugh, I know, I probably deserve it. Roast me in those comments, I guess, but I don't know what that is.
So I quickly moved the conversation away from that topic and I asked him if I could further assist him on his account. Because, what?
I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I know.
Okay, so I live in America and I'm obviously not American, and the list is so long, but by far my absolute favorite, and I get it all the time, is what is the weather like in Australia?
It's nice, I think.
The whole country?
Yeah.
This one?
True. It depends on where you're at. Just like here, like it's cold. Like it's so cold right now outside, right? But if you go to like Texas or like Florida or like probably Southern California or the Utah desert, it's probably pretty nice out right now. Like it's such a massive country. Australia is also such a massive country. So it's going to depend on where you're at for sure. But I think overall, I think it stays pretty nice in Australia, but I could be wrong. Oh, that was the end of the video. All right, guys. So if you enjoy this video, hit like, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on further videos. I do a lot of funny, dumb American kind of reactions. I do a lot of reactions on the Netherlands, Germany, Denmark, etc. And go ahead and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It's completely free, and it'll definitely help the channel. Drop a comment if you have anything to add to this. Hope you enjoyed that compilation of the what's the dumbest thing Americans ever said to you TikTok reactions that I've done, all 6 parts. Anyways, you guys have a super fun, awesome day. Take care.